like Benson, I'm a Who Dat.
I'm a Who Dat.
Long as I'm living, I'm a Who Dat. Lose or winning, I'm a Who Dat. Sports Coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a Who Dat.
I'm a Who Dat.
Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Elf. I thank God every day I'm not a Falcon. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your chain for the championship. Fucking on Tampa, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy, then you probably smell the crooked referees or Roger Goodell. Probably like this, and I'm a Who Dat. Every day I'm living, I'm a Who Dat. Lose or winning, I'm a Who Dat. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a Who Dat. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Point to a moment where it's like, okay, I understand this is going to work.
I think it's been a continual progression. To be honest, I feel like I started off the season, you come in, through OTAs and camp, and you're trying to make every single play look perfect and make every single install the best that you can. And it's a continual progression of learning. All right, this is what the play is supposed to be. I'm learning this new offense. And then you get to run the scout team. And now you're running, plays against really some of the best defensive guys you've ever seen. And how can you make that look the best that you can? And you learn, continually learn. And I get opportunity to start. And I think for me, it was that first game against Matthew Stafford and the Rams. And we only had like 40 or 50 plays. And just the importance of time clock and ball possession and keeping the chains moving forward. And it was a really good learning lesson for me kind of going forward on the impact of that situational football and how can I, influence the guys around me as a quarterback and make sure we're going in the right direction.
I'd love to stay in that lane a little bit, right? Like I came into the NFL, played for John Gruden, and I was like, oh my gosh, these plays, how freaking long are they to say all the time? What about for you? What was the hardest adjustment when you first got to the NFL and saw the playbook and got in the NFL building there?
I think it's just the first time you're doing it with some of these guys where you have no idea, how this guy may run this route, or taking a snap with Eric McCoy for the first time, going into a team period, thrust into it and how he likes the snap count. You're running this play and you're obviously in a quarterback competition, so you want to make the best play possible and run that play. But the defense is also coming up and we haven't talked about what they're doing versus the split double mug front or what they're going to do when they're dropping out. So you're like, well, I don't know what our answer is yet. And I think it's just the part of that growing process and learning process. And then when you kind of get to play actual football, and for me, that was just making sure the scout team was as dialed as we possibly could. And like you said, learning those plays to where now it's kind of become more of a second language and you're not running this play for the first time. And how can I put my feet and my eyes in the right spot to give me the best chance? And I think it's a credit to the coaches and credit to everybody around me, just kind of helping me prepare that way.
Chris mentioned his relationship when he got into the league with John Gruden, and it was rocky at times, which made it incredibly entertaining. Shed some light on your relationship with a guy who's in his first year as a head coach, Kellen Moore. How do you guys communicate, like in-game? Give us a nice example of just how it's working, because it presumably is. It'll be far more entertaining if it's not working, if you want to tell us a story about dysfunction. But just give us an idea of how things are going with your new head coach.
I mean, it's been great. I think he's played the position at a high level, at all levels. He's quite frankly the opposite of John Gruden as far as his personality on and off the field, so I don't have to worry about that. And I love Coach Gruden as well, but Kellen's awesome. He's cool, calm, and collected. I remember last game, I pulled the ball on a run, and I'm not supposed to pull the ball. It's the tight end's gap hinging backside, and he's chuck walking. There's nobody to read, but I kind of was a spur of the moment. I came over to him. I was like, man, I'm sorry, I got to give it there. He's like, it's all good. Don't do it again.
Right.
And he's just so like next play mentality. He's the same dude every single day, which is I think why we all respect him and love him, because he is who he is, and he's just got us all having fun and playing together.
What about, I love to go down this, this avenue here of, again, like, what about like the physical adjustments to the NFL, right? I know when I got in the league, I was like, oh my gosh, the pocket collapses so much quicker. Or wait, this guy is open? You want me to throw to that? That's open in the NFL, right? What was it for you that you were kind of like, wow, okay, I didn't expect it to quite be like this?
Yeah. I mean, it started out in practice to where, you're thinking this guy is open and really it's a matter of throwing guys open versus man coverage. And then in the zones, where can I where can I fit this in to keep the ball moving forward? And for me, it was really scout team, and I'm going against Chase Young and Demario Davis and Alante Taylor, and every single, like you said, the pocket is almost 100% of the time not in your favor on scout team. But
Right.
I think the first 3 weeks I had 68% completion percentage, and I was super intentional about my reps there and having two hands in the pocket and moving up, and I was just having a lot of fun. And I learned so much because it was almost worse in practice. That way, when I got to the game, it was just kind of another rep and just another rep. And so that was the best thing for me. And then, the first game you're going against Jared Verse and Byron Young, and then you're playing against Derek Brown and the Panthers and all these, every single team. It's the best guys you've ever seen. And you have to just have that mindset of, F it, I'm going to keep going and doing my job. And how can I keep moving forward?
Tyler, you got your first start in week 9. You've gone 5-3, 5-2 over the last 7 with 4 wins in a row. If I'm a Saints fan, I'm excited for the future, but I'm also at some level saying, man, what could this have been if he'd have been the starter from week 1? What would you say to a Saints fan who would come up to you and say, man, how good would we be right now if you had been the starter since week 1?
I think everything happens for a reason, and it's kind of it's a hard thing to put your mind around because, who knows? And I think it's all intentional by the coaching staff and for me. And, I wasn't ready to play week 1 necessarily, to at least of what I've learned to this point. And I think I have so much to continue to learn and grow. But the NFL is a tough business. And say, I start out the year and we lose a couple games and there might be a different narrative. So I think as part of it, it's how it goes. And my job is to kind of continue to learn and stay ready. And I think the coaches understood that throughout the flow of the season, I got to be ready. And I knew when I got an opportunity, that I was going to try and make the most of it.
How would you explain to the viewers, right? Just as far as people out there watching the show, where your comfort level is. You start 1-3, right? It's a little up and down, whatever else. And now, man, it's like they're like, hey, you're good. Start throwing the ball, dice them up, surgically destroy them here, right? But in your own mind, where are you at now as compared to that 1-3 start? What is it? Explain to the viewers where you become more comfortable and be able to see the game more clearly and play so well.
I think it is just the understanding of situational football. It's a continual learning process. Like I said, the Rams game, I'm learning, okay, this is how, we can't run 40 plays and expect to win. How do I keep moving forward and understanding what they're trying to attack against us? You have a great win versus Carolina and you come to the next week and we lose to our rival, the Falcons. And it's just, I think it's part of it. It's a continual progression. And for me, just trusting my abilities. And I think we've just been having fun as a team together more than anything. I think that's the biggest thing that kind of Kellen's been preaching, is just having joy in the journey. And we're playing our best football right now because we've been playing complementary together. And you got guys around me that kind of, believe in me, and we all are playing together that way. And it makes it easier as a quarterback when you can kind of lead the charge.
Chris Olave has been on fire lately. 4 touchdowns the last 3 games, 119 yards against the Titans, 148 on 10 catches against the Jets. One of the many great Ohio State receivers in the NFL. How has that relationship and connection with him flourished in recent weeks?
I mean, it's been awesome. He's the same dude every single day. He's more soft-spoken, but he's a grinder. He's battling through injuries. He's showing up every single day, and he's just explosive. He's one of the best I've ever seen, getting in and out of breaks. His speed is unmatched, and so he's just a beast. I know he's going to be great for us for years to come, hopefully. And but for me, I didn't really start off having a bunch of chemistry with him because I was more throwing to the guys that I'm kind of throwing to now, and it was on scout team or getting reps to the backup. So I think the first couple of weeks I hadn't thrown to any of the starters or hadn't done any work with it. So I think that kind of goes back to what you were saying, Chris. It's just a lot more just learning lumps, and you don't necessarily have the full trust of what this guy's body language is going to look like. And now I think continual reps throughout the season, and you're getting every single rep in practice, and now you're game planning, and Kellen and I are texting, and so there's a little bit more of comfortability there. And obviously with Chris, we're pretty dialed on what we're kind of thinking, and as well as Jawan Johnson as well, just being able to get a bunch of reps with him. And trust him. Yeah.
I mean, it's been awesome. You guys are on fire right now, you and Olave. I mean, 2 peas in a pod. Okay, but I want to be a little more fun here too, right? Mike's heard me tell this story. When I saw Julius Peppers the first time on an NFL field, or Calais Campbell, and they played, I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they're this big or that good, right? Who's been that one guy so far in your rookie year where you were like, I can't believe that guy when I saw him in person, or I didn't realize he was this good? Anybody come to mind when I asked that question?
Yeah. I would say Derek Brown of the Panthers, and then I mean you got to go to Antoine Winfield of the Buccaneers. I think two different versions, but both on defense. I think Derek Brown, you're trying to scheme up all these different runs and all these different plays, and it looks good on paper, and then he completely wrecks the entire play and blows up a double team, and it's just that's why you pay that guy a bunch of money. Everything looks good. And Antoine Winfield, he's a smaller safety, the opposite size of Derek Brown, but he's flying all over the field. You got to know where he's at. So I think it's just kind of cool watching these guys, on TV, kind of whenever you're in college growing up, being able to play against them, but also not giving them too much credit. And you're like, you can't go out there and be like, wow, I'm such a big fan. You got to go out there and play. But
Right.
you obviously have the utmost respect for him.
All right, shout out to the black and gold up in this one, man. Welcome, welcome, welcome. You're now rocking with the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys, where we have intense, entertaining, educating, and enlightening sport talk from your favorite sports fam. Shout out to y'all for being in the stream. Much love. Please feel free to spike upon the like button. We started the broadcast off with Tyler Shough, man, our fantastic rookie quarterback, who's been doing a fantastic job, man. You heard Mike Florio mention the statistics about him starting and what he was able to do. What's really interesting about the whole thing is, listening to this interview, and you guys can feel free to look it up. It's online with the NBC for the totality of the interview. But what's really interesting about the interview that he mentioned was the fact that a lot of his reps were done with the scout team, not having a chemistry or a synergy with the starters at first until it started to build. And then, of course, you're seeing him and Chris Olave and ultimate Jawan Johnson, his safety blanket. But the thing is, it wasn't always like that. These guys they were dropping the ball. They were miscommunications on where they needed to be early on. He was throwing out routes where the guys was cutting in, all this kind of stuff. So it was disconnections on where the route was supposed to go, where the placement of the ball. But ultimately, over time, everybody got better. Everybody, because they started running the same plays to the point where they started really understanding who's supposed to be where and when. And plus, guys started sinking in, blocking and catching and doing what they're supposed to do. And you've seen a noticeable improvement of the black and gold moving forward. Now, with that being said, that'll be interesting because we are without Chris Olave. We did the report yesterday about him having a blood clot in his lung, and reports indicating he'll have a full recovery. So we send prayers to his family that he makes a full and speedy recovery, which he will. That's number one. Number two is the fact that we understand with Chris Olave out for the regular season finale week 18 matchup against the Falcons, then we understand that there will be a lot of scout team wide receivers available. We know that the scout team wide receiver, Kevin Austin Jr., as soon as he was implemented into the wide receiver room when injuries started to mount, you instantly seeing the chemistry between him and Tyler Shough from the scout days, right? And you'll see similar stuff with other wide receivers from scout teams, because that's pretty much all we have here that'll be lining up here, and we'll go over all that momentarily. But to stay on the Tyler Shough thing, the question was asked by Mike Florio about what, should the Saints have started Tyler Shough early? Now, my mindset is what I've said to you guys before, was that there's a reason why Tyler Shough did what he did. Now, he astutely mentions it in here that he wasn't ready. You heard him say it out of his own mouth, even though it was really close between Spencer Rattler and Tyler Shough. And listen, when it was that close, he went with Spencer Rattler. He being Kellen Moore, understanding that if Tyler Shough struggled early on, then there would be no coming back for him. You would have to then pivot to Spencer. So what they did was they started it with Spencer Rattler. Now the question then could be, could they have started him a little bit earlier than what we originally seen? Now, yeah, maybe a game or two or so, but that doesn't necessarily mean that would have ended in a win scenario, right? I think the progression was what it was supposed to be. So should the Saints have started Tyler Shough earlier? Kellen Moore said the timing was right, and I agree with that 100%. Hard to believe much of the season the Saints could finish the 25 season as the NFC South second place team if they beat Atlanta this weekend and Carolina beat Tampa Bay on Saturday. That combined with rookie Tyler Shough winning 5 of his first 8 games starts since taking over midway through the season. He has led to questions like these first-year Helen coach Kellen Moore saying, do you wish that Shough started early this season? Spencer Rattler beat Shough to win the starting quarterback job in training camp, and though he played well, the New Orleans Saints were 1-7 in his starts. The Saints coach is not interested in revisionist history. I think the timing was right. This is Kellen Moore. Coming out of training camp, Spencer earned the right to be the starting quarterback. I thought Spencer did a lot of good things. He put a lot of good film out there. He played some challenging situations against some of the best teams in the league. And ultimately, as you look at the standings, I thought there was a lot of positives there. Indeed, the Saints' 7 losses were rarely at the quarterback. 5 are currently in the playoff mix. The 7 losses came against teams with a combined record of 70-42, which is 62.5% winning percentage. The early season hole was nearly impossible to climb out of. The Saints were eliminated from playoff contention before the calendar year switched to December. Been out of there. New Orleans then switched over to Shough late in the 7th loss to the Buccaneers team that was 6-2 at the time. Moore said he felt that not only was the right time to make a switch, but Shough had reached a point where the franchise felt comfortable turning the offense over to him, right? And every player's development is going through a different path. No two are the same. Tyler developed off the field for a number of weeks, so when he was presented the opportunity, he took care and took advantage. He's done an awesome job, and we're excited of where he's going. So the question that most people ask is, hey, Q, we would have won a game or two early had we started Tyler Shough. I mean, that's debatable, right? That's debatable. You know, we could have not. I mean, but there was games out of the games that he did start, like the Dolphins game, that should have been a win. A drop touchdown at the end of the game kind of kept us from doing that. But that wasn't Shucky Ducky Quack Quack's problem, right? We know who issue that was. We won't say it. But ultimately, at the end of the day, I believe, and I will say this, I thought it was the right time. While Spencer Rattler was going through what he was going through, starting those games that he started, ultimately Shough was working with the practice squad and the scout team, and he was doing his thing, building up and getting familiar with the reps. And like he talked about the interesting dynamic of having the scout team offensive lineman, which is the backup offensive lineman. We know they weren't all that good, so his window to process things had to speed up because of the fact that, you know, he didn't have a lot of time to make decisions, which then also helped him in his decision-making ability and some of his timing in these games that he's playing in now. But also couple that with the fact that the man is 26 years old and is approaching it at a mature level, not a 22 or 21 or 23-year-old. This man's 26 years of age. So it's a different maturation mentally processing information. Not saying that he's smarter than a 21-year-old, but it's a maturity thing, right? When you're dealing with that, how you seeing things, the mind develops, you know, it's a difference in thought process there and with some people. And that's what Tyler Shough is showing. He's showing that to the point where a lot of odds makers have Tyler Shough lined up to be the rookie of the year. They're saying that he takes over the top spot. And this is, although it's after a slow start, but it's showing, well, I'm saying with a monster performance, he should be the guy. Shout out to Tina Howell. She tweeted this, and it's partially based on this, showing the odds right here with Tyler Shough. Is not a favorite to win the rookie of the year, according to FanDuel. Shout out to FanDuel as well. And pretty much what's going on with, you know, talking about them is the fact that, and while we talking about it, FanDuel, that the Saints are mentioned as a 3-point underdog to the Atlanta Falcons. So, you know, that's what we talking about. The Falcons are 3-point favorites to beat the Saints. And you can see that right there, the underdog and the money line here from FanDuel. You guys can hit up the site and make y'all picks whenever you so choose. Anyway, going back to it. She mentions that he's leading right now, and that's also something you can bet on in terms of how do you think Tyler Shough will finish out. I think that Tyler Shough, with a strong game, man, against the Atlanta Falcons, I think Tyler Shough ultimately will win the Rookie of the Year. I think that has been awesome. The winning streak is also taking notice of for him to finish the season strong and collect the 7th win of the season for the Saints, finishing 7 and 10 on the season. Him getting his 5th straight game. Him winning all of the other accolades that come along with what he's done thus far in this season. And like I said, the things that the man doing, whether you like him or not, the things that he's doing has never been done as a rookie quarterback of the New Orleans Saints. It's not been done, or if it's been done, it has been done by very good quarterbacks. You know, Archie Manning was a very good quarterback for us. He didn't have all the talent around him, but there are a lot of records that this man has broken, and you need to give him his respect on that, right? So heading into the Rookie of the Year odds, a strong performance against the Atlanta Falcons. I would love to see him crack the Falcons for 400 points. 400 yards of offense and 3 or 4 touchdowns would be truly blissful. Would love to see that happening, destroying the Falcons in their building. And Shough, just the Shuckinator, chopping them up. Kellen Moore's not going to be shy about it. He's going to be dialing up vertical attacks to slice and dice them. Atlanta does have a very decent defense, beyond decent defense. They got some good safety play with Xavier Watts and Jesse Bates back there, so you have to be smart on how you attack them. They do have pass rushers up front, but at the same time, the final game of the season, Saints looking to even up and not allow the Falcons to do any sweeping here. And Shough, man, with a big performance, even another 300-yard game, or even a 4, that should cement him in being a guy. So 300, I would love to see 400. We'll put him over the top, multiple touchdowns. That would be super good on that side of things, right? All right, let's pivot and shout out to what the Saints are doing with Tyler Shough. Knowing we're going into the offseason, we got the quarterback situation. It's really kind of gathering and saying, hey, man, listen, we feeling pretty good about what's going on with the Saints in the future with Tyler Shough, and it's building momentum to the point where players like Cam Jordan mentioned that he doesn't mind coming back, and then Demario Davis mentioned it on Thursday that he wants to play in 2026 for the New Orleans Saints. And Demario Davis, and I'm pretty sure, Mickey Loomis is the general manager here. He's the guy that decides on whether that's going to be the case or not. There's a lot of dead money and phantom contract years that's on the contracts for both Demario Davis and Cam Jordan, both of whom are having excellent years. Cam's has more sacks than he had in 4 seasons, right? It's been 4 seasons since Cam has had this kind of amounts from the sack perspective and its impact on the team defensively from a sack perspective. And Demario Davis has 137 combined tackles, which is a career high. He can even push it forward to go another 6 or 7 tackles on top of that against the Falcons to 140 plus tackles. He's never done that before. He's never been on that level before. So it's got to the point where a lot of the 5-time Pro Bowler is talking about coming back for another year, that he wants to play an additional year. And this is right here what he said pretty much about playing another year. I'm excited about this he says, I'm excited that this will probably be the earliest I know I want to continue to play. He met many of the goals he set for himself, and now he's trying to set new milestones to meet. Instead of hitting a wall with age, finding a way to get better. That's exciting to his career. So are the hours of work he puts in away from the facility to maintain his body as he picks up more wear and tear. So Demario is excited being a part of the team. He's passionate about it. I think playing for an organization that you enjoy coming to work every day, it helps the emotional fatigue and the spiritual fatigue. That can be a part of the game that's very tough. What complicates things, though, that Davis just has 1 game left on his contract with the Saints. He's set to void on March the 12th, leaving behind over $14 million in dead money. Now, the Saints can reduce the number by extending his contract, but they've got to find a middle ground that makes sense for both sides. Now, Davis needs to be willing to accept an offer while they must figure out how much they can afford to pay him at this stage of his career. For this part, Davis isn't worried about the contractual side of things. He knows where he wants to be and what he wants to do. He trusts the numbers will work themselves out, and when the time is right. I don't think in terms of business element before the business element presents itself. We're in a game where contracts do matter, but such a small part of it, your career. I never had to really negotiate a contract. They always negotiate themselves. So this sort of thing that the Saints are looking at. Shout out to the Saints Wire giving some scoops about it. But linebackers having long careers isn't common. It's not unheard of either. Now, Davis is the same age Ray Lewis was when he ended his run with the Ravens. London Fletcher played till he was 38. Clay Matthews Sr. and late junior Sayal both played to 40. Davis plans on playing in 2026. Sounds sure as he plans on playing for the Saints. We'll see if they can reach an agreement for the trade deadline. We know that Cam has also mentioned that he wants to come back for the Saints. Demario Davis said something this past Thursday. The reality is, do the Saints take these things seriously? They will take them seriously. They're nostalgic, and there could be a situation where you bring Demario back and Cam Jordan back at significantly reduced rates, if you know what I mean. Now, there's still dead money on contracts for multiple years, avoided years for both Demario Davis and Cam because they had contracts that they had that were reworked by Mickey Loomis. So where there's a will, there's a way. So the Saints players, they're going to end up paying these guys anyway, but we'll see how it's handled, because if Demario's telling you that he wants to come back and you got Cam Jordan telling you when he wants to come back, then you would, as a New Orleans Saints organization, as long as they're productive and they come back at the proper rate where it's a cheaper and reduced rate, then man, why not? You know, some people say Q, it's time to pivot and move and shake. That's true. That's true. We can still go into the future, going forward. But if you have veterans that are incredibly productive, you got a veteran, Cam Jordan, 36 years old, Demario Davis, 36 years old. Both of these guys are leading their team in tackles and sacks, and they want to play and they feel like they can contribute to the Saints team that is on the upcline that they believe, and they believe that 2026 can be special and they want to be a part of it. You know, I don't have any problems with saying, hey man, come on aboard. As long as they're productive and still handling the business, I still say you can do it. But still in all, that does not stop my drafting process. Just because they're there does not stop me from drafting another edge rusher. It doesn't stop me from drafting a linebacker if one presents itself. It doesn't stop me from the slightest. You see what I'm saying? From picking up these players going forward. Just because I signed Demario and Cam back doesn't stop me from going into the future and finding a pass rusher and a linebacker that can step in there once they leave. You get what I'm saying? So all it does is add extra certainty for an additional year to your team with the leadership and what they can do. So I don't see any harm with it, long as they come at a reduced rate. So I mean, that would be my take on it, man, as we keep this thing spinning and moving. What's y'all point on it? Y'all let me know. Y'all hit that like button, man. Shout out to you guys. Salute, double salute to the Patreon champions and YouTube membership family. Thank y'all for being in the streams. Thank y'all guys for the support. For our Patreon family members, they have 3 reports that are being released. They had one that was released, I think, today. There's one tomorrow and another one the following day, from On Q with Big Q, touching various topics. Those are available only on our Patreon. Not to mention, we had the recently for our YouTube membership family and our Patreon champions. We also had the latest around the mock draft breakdown, money breakdown, all that stuff was available in the last one. So if you want to support the movement, please feel free to sign up at patreon.com/the Pro Media Network. We in this thing. All right. So anyway, let's keep going and moving and shaking and grooving all across this thing. And speaking of money, let's hit this up, right? Shout out to Saints Wire again. Saints 2026 salary cap situation. We talking about bringing back Demario Davis. We talking about perhaps them guys wanting to play, and you want Cam Jordan saying that he wants to come back again. What is it going to look like setting the stage, right? So this is what it looks like. Conservative estimates, $295.5 million in cap 2026. And the Saints rolling over that over $8 million that they have that's unspent currently on the cap. The team should hit the spending limit of 303.8 in the offseason, which is a lot of bread. So while the Saints already have over $204 million, right? $204 million, not 2.4, $204 million committed to players under contract for 2026. They have an additional $66 million in dead money tied to in players who aren't on the team anymore. What do we mean by that? $37 million, right? $37 million for the likes of Derek Carr, right? 36.7, almost 12 million for Ryan Ramczyk, and so on. And there's another 48.2 million floating in limbo for Cam, Demario, Taysom, Foster, all playing on expired contracts. Resigning each of those guys brings the number down, which Cam and Demario are interested in doing, but those aren't easy decisions to make. Now, let's assume all of them leaving free agency or retiring in the spring that would saddle the Saints with 113 million dollars in dead money. Big chunk off the salary cap in 2026, but at the same time, that leaves about 43 players under contract, and only the top 51 count against the cap in the offseason. Remember, there are teams that capped at 90 players on the roster, so they have to spend a little bit more money meeting the threshold that they can start coming up with other ways to kind of save money, which means that he more than likely will work on restructuring. That's the method. Getting 51 contracts. Here's another thing to think about. All 5 of the Saints' exclusive right free agents, which is cornerback Rajon Wright, Isaiah Stallberg, Kai Kroger, the punter, and tight ends Mason Tipton and Zaire Mitchell-Paden, return on minimum salary of just over $1 million apiece. So if you do all the players on the practice squad right now and add them up with cap hits between $885,000 and $1.2 million, depending on their experience, that puts the Saints at 64 players under contract, and that's about 214.2 million going to the top 51 contracts on the team. But taking with their 113.7 million in dead money, that leaves them in the red just over about $24 million. So 24 in change for 2026, which is actually phenomenal because remember, we've experienced the Saints at 100 million, we at 80 million, at 60 million, at 40 million. So what's 24 million, right? Again, that's not as bad as what we've seen with all these elevated numbers before. So how to get under the cap? The Saints have a lot of options to be cap compliant. They can borrow from the future, where they start having nothing on the books, 164.5 million in cap commitments in 27, which dropped to 54 million in 2028 by restructuring the contracts. We've seen them do this before, and it figures to be their go-to move again. That's all they're going to do. That's the move. That how you're going to get 24 million down and then an additional 20 plus million dollars to sign draft picks or maybe pick up and re-sign guys, because you still have to sign Chris Olave, you still have Alante Taylor. That's 2 contracts that you're going to pay a nice chunk of change for. Plus, when you sign your draft picks, and I'm pretty sure the Saints are going to add a few free agents. They might not do a lot of free agents, but maybe they do in the upcoming free agency period. They might pick up a run guard for the left guard position and focus on something in the draft, right? They might pick up a backup running back like Tyler Algieri to help out. Who knows? We don't know how it's going to go, but they can pivot and move with the right amount of money. So freeing up 24 million and then restructuring various contracts to get it down to the black and then increase it to maybe 15 to 20 million dollars is probably what they're going to try to do. So some of the candidates that they can restructure are Juwan Johnson, right? Saving about over 6 million off of his contract. There's Chase Young, where you can get almost 11 million from him. Chris Olave's contract will change the deal, potentially saving him 11.5 million, right? Because you're paying him 15 in his final year. But when you sign, we'll see how they rework his deal. They will rework Alvin Kamara's deal and have him to take a pay cut, because his cap hit is the second largest on the team at 18.6. So that's going to be cutting down to about 3 million to his $11.5 million base guarantee is guaranteed. That salary is guaranteed. So converting a non-guaranteed portion in incentives like they would do with Cam Jordan would yield about $8.5 million in savings. So, but AK-41 would have to agree upon that, right? We know that we were hoping that he come back for the final game. He was not cleared, so he will be out for the remaining for the one game that's left. Other decisions are not so easy. You got Eric McCoy has the 4th highest cap hit at almost $18 million. But while cutting or trading him before June 1st wouldn't save any money, they could designate him a post June 1st cut release and to get $10.5 million back on June 2nd. That could be used to sign that rookie draft class and add free agents before training camp. Now, McCoy was a Pro Bowler in each of his last 2 years, but injuries have become a big problem for him. He's only played in 14 games between 2024 and 2025. And I've already said I love Eric McCoy, but the facts are the facts and the stats are the stats. Over the last 4 seasons rather, McCoy has missed 20-something games. That's a lot of time, man. That's a lot of games. And like we've seen with Ramczyk, we had love for Ramczyk. When injuries cut Ramczyk down to nothing. They're doing, they haven't done it exactly the mode or method as we've seen with Eric McCoy, but he can't stay healthy. And what we've seen for Eric McCoy this year wasn't the more dominant Eric McCoy that we usually see from years past. Not at all. So at some point, you got to watch what's happening here and understand and know, hey, man, if we're going to build this thing into the future, we have to pay attention to players who can't be relied upon as starters, right? If they can't be relied upon as starters, we got to pivot and go in a different direction. That's just the bottom line. That's how we got to operate. This is a business. It's not personal. So anyway, outside of that, we talked about that, that there's a couple of trade candidates we can't rule out. Carl Granderson started the year strong but faded. Chase Young returned to the edge rusher rotation. And they trading him. This is just the idea. Not saying that you would do it, but these are just some of the ideas that's being presented. That trading him in time for the 2026 draft would save $3 million. Probably getting a nice draft pick. Cesar Ruiz has been a sieve at the right guard, and talks got pretty fair at the trade deadline back in November. Trading him in time for this year's draft saves the Saints $12,000, but waiting until June the 2nd would free up $9.5 million. Neither Bryan Bresee nor Pete Werner have played that well in Staley's defense. I disagree. Bresee doesn't have the numbers that you're accustomed to seeing from him, but his impact there was still a good impact, and I see he will improve. Now Pete Werner was a co-starter with Danny Stutzman, who had 50-something tackles up to this point. Pete Werner had like 70 tackles, so so Coach Staley's defense. He's using both of those guys to kind of keep them fresh, and the Saints could save more than $2 million by trading either of them in the draft. What's interesting is we've pinpointed that, and he's right. We've talked about Cesar Ruiz getting beat on tape. We can most certainly do better at that right guard position. Both left guard and right guard positions need to be addressed, whether in free agency or in the draft or both. Either way, we need to look at that. But designating Cesar Ruiz as a post-June, like a June 2nd cut, frees up almost $10 million. I'm for that all day, because we got to improve on the offensive line. Our offensive line with the backups showed a lot more pause than we seen early in the season. The backups are hitting it. Luke Fortner, to me, deserved a contract. We still need to see other players getting opportunities to step in that thing, but these are just some of the metrics you look at from a monetary standpoint, right? So it's tough to say, really. We got to start with Cam, Demario, and Taysom. Those are the first dominoes to fall of the trio. Hill seems close to retirement after the Saints pulled out all the stops to make his last game at the Superdome a day to remember. He just hasn't been the same after last season's knee injury, and this is the writer talking. I say Taysom Hill has not really been the same. At first, he wasn't really brung in or added. Feel like he was a part of the offense in a way that was good to him. But when you seen running backs get hurt and they had to use him as a running back, use him as a tight end, you start seeing him really go, because he's a rhythm player, and you situate him in ways where you can create mismatches against your ops. So yeah, he done a really phenomenal job the last game. Remember, he gave up the fumble, but he came back with the touchdown. He had the touchdown throw. He had some real good runs to help keep drives going, a couple of catches and this sort of thing, blocking. So in the end, yeah, I think Taysom Hill is definitely done as a New Orleans Saint. Wouldn't be surprised if he went to Denver with Coach Payton. But Demario Davis and Cam Jordan, it seems like the Saints are going to end up bringing these guys back. That's what it seems like to me. Jordan may have played his way out of finishing his career in New Orleans. He's played too well and got too many sacks for Super Bowl contenders not to line up and price him out for what the Saints can afford to pay him. I don't know. We'll see how that ends. I think Cam wants to come back, and I think he wants to finish as the Saint. I think that both Demario Davis want to stay. I think the Saints will honor that. I think Demario Davis and Cam Jordan, if they're serious about staying, I think Mickey Loomis will make a way to see if they stay. Now, these are the salary cap ramifications and impacts for some of the stuff. $3 million in savings by Lauren Davis's cap hit. Updated salary cap space currently $21 million in the red. For the restructures, Luke Fortner did an admirable job of seeing the Saints wouldn't save money by moving on from Eric McCoy before the draft. restructuring McCoy's contract and hope he can stay on the field in 2026, saving almost $7 million. We're also going to restructure Chase Young, $10.9 million, Granderson's $8.7 million, Jawan Johnson $6.3, and now we're clear by just about $12 million. So that's salary cap impact at $33 million in savings, right? Then the updated salary would be plus 11. So you're in the black by 11.7. Now we keep going. Alvin Kamara is willing to accept the pay cut for incentives for touchdowns and snaps played, similar to what Cam agreed to, and which he cashed in. That reduces cap hit to a hair over $10 million and keeps a respected leader in place on offense, saving $8.5 million, giving Tyler Shough 2 veteran pillars of support between Kamara and McCoy. And we'll guess Olave gets the contract extension, which the Saints can restructure creatively to lower his cap hit from 15.5 to probably less than half of that, saving $7.3 million. Then the salary cap impact is almost $6 million in savings. Then we're updated to $27.5 million with those moves. As we continue to move into it, now we're talking. Now that's enough to make some moves in free agency. It's also enough to absorb dead money charge from cutting a veteran defender like Justin Reed, who at $11.6 million of a cap hit, Divine Gacho at 7.1, or agreeing to trade an underperforming starter like Cesar Ruiz at 14.2. There are other moves Saints can make to open up even more resources in 2026, depending on how aggressive they want to go. After crunching these numbers, it's clear the offseason won't lack for incitement. So this is a good one. Shout out to the writer on this. Saints Wire did a real phenomenal job of kind of crunching the numbers here as we kind of get to the point where we need to figure out where we need to go and how we need to get there in the 2026 season. No doubt about it. All right, let's move along, man. Let's push on. Let's push on. Let's keep it on moving. Let's keep it moving. Y'all hit that like button, man. Injury report for Friday, man. This is the big one right here. Injury report for Friday. 10 Saints on that injury report. The final Week 18 matchup against the Falcons, man. We're going for the gusto. Bryan Bresee, we knew he was going to be out with the new. I thought Alvin would be able to come back. He did not. So he was shut down the entire week, game status. He's out for the final game. He goes to the offseason and rehabs to get healthy for 2026. Chris Olave, we know about the blood clot in his lung. Of course, he's out. Dylan Redunce went from limited to fully practice. He's a game time decision. People believe he will play. Spencer Rattler is also a game time decision, dealing with a right finger issue. The Saints did, however, sign the practice squad a punter to the practice squad. So if the Saints need to activate a quarterback, if something were to go wrong, they could probably, if Spencer Rattler can't go, he's a game time decision. We'll see how it all works for him. If not, then you'll see somebody else in the position. And also remember, Taysom Hill is there as well. Demario was limited with a calf. He's a game time decision. Nate Shepard had a knee and ankle issue that's prevented him from playing his final game of the season. He will be out of the game. Cesar Ruiz is now elevated back to starter status, where he will be playing at the right guard position. Tyler Shough had a little hip issue, but he was good to go all week. And Divine Gacho just needed rest. He will be good to go. And with Nate Shepard out, you should see Christian Boyd and guys like that step in. For the Falcons side of it, Brandon Dorlus, who's tied for the team lead in sacks 8.5, is out for this game. Clark Phillips, the defensive back, is out for the game. And you got several Falcon players that are game time decisions. Drake London, Kyle Pitts Sr., Sam Roberts, and Darnell Mooney are game time decisions. DeMarco Helms. So most of these guys will end up playing in the game time decision final games, and I believe they all will be raring to go. And you see the rest of these guys should play. Jesse Bates, Caden Ellis, Leonard Floyd, Jake Matthews, Charlie Warner, and David Onyemata all just needed rest. They'll have the final game as the Saints look to split with the Falcons, man, and that is what it is currently. So, that's what it is, and that's how it is. So as we pivot with several players being out for the Saints, they did make some moves, man. So remember, facing a roster crunch, shout out to NOLA.com. For the scoop, final game of the year, the Saints placed 4 players on the IR to allow them additional roster flexibility. Wide receiver Mason Tipton special teams gunner Michael Davis, tight ends Jack Stoll and Zaire Mitchell-Paden all went on the injury reserve. New Orleans also ruled out running back Alvin Kamara and Chris Olave, along with defensive linemen Bryan Bresee and Nate Shepard. 3 additional players are questionable in the linebacker. We talked about Demario Davis, left guard Dylan Redunce, and backup quarterback Spencer Rattler with the finger. The Saints filled out of 3 of the IR spots by signing rookie defensive end Fadil Diggs and wide receivers Ronnie Bell and Samari Toure to the active roster from the practice squad. The 4th open spot on the roster could go to the quarterback Jake Haener if Rattler is unable to play because of the finger. Now, Olave has already been ruled out early in this week, and he went to the hospital because of the blood clot in his lung. So obviously he's going to be on a journey here. It's a process he go to, according to Kellen. So the Kamara news also did not come as a surprise that he hasn't practiced since then. But they did ask the question about why didn't he go on IR, and they had, and this is what I said. It was obvious, but the worst Kamara's career statistically, played in a career low 11 games, failed to crack 1,000 yards from scrimmage for the first time in his 9 NFL seasons, finishing with 657 total. Moore said Friday the running back did not go on IR because the team wanted the opportunity to see how his recovery progressed. Alvin's done a ton of work behind the scenes, according to Coach Moore. We kind of felt that. Would have been one of the things with Alvin Kamara. Would have loved to see him get on the field and do his thing as well. So that's the injury report. That's some of the guys. So you have a lot of scout team guys that will be on this roster right here. Tyler Shough, we'll see if he has a synergy with them. But man, it's going to be interesting with our top wide receiver down. It's going to be interesting. So Tyler Shough, Alvin's out, so we'll see Audric Estime, Evan Hall, Taysom Hill. We'll see those guys. Chris Olave's out, so he's our top guy. He's done for the year with the blood clot in his lung. So Kevin Austin Jr., Dante Pettis, Ronnie Bell, Samari Toure, there'll be some of the guys that's activated in there and trying to play. Now, Mason Tipton, Bub Means, Trey Palmer, Devon Velli, Jalen Polk, all those wide receivers on IR. We kind of busted up on that wide receiver room, just like we kind of tore up in the offensive line with Nick Seldavera, Eric McCoy, Landon Young. We got a couple of guys kind of banged up there as well. We got Dylan Redunce, who we believe will play in the game. So right now, as we stand, this is our depth chart. Tyler Shough, the running backs, Audric Estime, Evan Hall, Taysom Hill will be in there. We'll see what happens with Spencer Rattler. If Haener's not need to be activated for Spencer, Chris Olave's out. So Pettis, Kevin Austin Jr., Pettis, Ronnie Bell, Samari Toure will be guys that will be kind of looking on. They might add another one. We'll see. The tight ends, Jawan Johnson, Matavo will be in there along with Taysom in that role. Offensive line, Kelvin Banks Jr., Dylan Redunce, Luke Fortner, Cesar Ruiz turned with Tali Fuaga. So that will be our starting offensive line. And then defensively speaking, Cam Jordan, Divine Gacho, Bryan Bresee's out. So is Nate Shepard. So John Ridgeway and Christian Boyd, expect those guys to get a lot of grind there. Fadil Diggs, who showed up early in the year and preseason was doing a pretty decent job. He's back on there on the ride. So our 7-round picks, Fadil Diggs and Matavo, are active on the team finishing out. Matavo's really showing some stuff. Fadil Diggs early in preseason was moving around, making some spots, and it was really close for a while between Fadil Diggs and Chris Rumph II, if y'all don't remember. So having him out there as a fresh pair of legs, let's see how he activates and move for the Saints. Now, Demario's dealing with a little calf issue, so we got Pete Werner there. Danny Stutzman's going to always play. You might see Stallbird there. Chase Young is stepping up, having it along with Carl Grandison. And then our secondary, man, Michael Davis is the backup, big cornerback veteran. He's on the IR. We already knew about Julian Blackman. So Kool-Aid McKinstry, Alante Taylor, and Quincy Riley are our corners with Sanker and Justin Reed. And that's where we are with Charlie Smith and Kai Kroger on the special team. So this is pretty much what it is. Our offense, looking at our wide receiver room, is kind of really chewed up. So we'll kind of see Kevin Austin Jr., who's been balling. Pettis, who looked good in spots. You know, he had the fumble into the end zone, but he's a receiver that has some speed. He'll get an opportunity with first team reps. Ronnie Bell, a speedster. Samari Toure is another wide receiver there. Wouldn't be surprised if Spencer Rattler is good to go. You might see the Saints activate the other wide receiver, Elijah. I forgot the man's name off the special teams, but I think we done activated all of our I think we done activated, fam. We done activated all the wide receivers except for one wide receiver on the practice squad. I think it's just one dude left on the practice squad we didn't activate yet. Yes, Elijah Cooks. He's a 6'4", 215-pound second-year wide receiver out of San Jose State. Spent time with Philly and another team, so we'll see what happens with that on that end. So I mean, they also can activate Trenton Welch, the tight end, also to come in and help. Is that we'll see where it goes with that if they need an additional wide receiver. But that's pretty much what it is for the Saints right now, going forward into this matchup with the Atlanta Falcons. So anyway, man, listen, man. Shout out to you guys. Appreciate you for being in the stream on this one. Listen, man, like I said, man, I just find it really interesting, the fact that the Saints found a quarterback. It was a huge gamble, but the gamble paid off for us. And speaking of gamble and paying off, check out FanDuel, man. You remember FanDuel is an official sponsor of the Sports Coma. Shout out to FanDuel in this piece, as we have our other sponsors that's listed in the comment of the description section below. All these people go about the business of helping, financially support the show, and you can check them out, man. You can go on FanDuel and make the bets with this game, the Saints and Falcons. Remember, the Falcons are seen as a 3-point favorite to win in their building against the Saints. Of course, we want that to not be the case. We want to go in there and kick the Falcons in the teeth and they butt, knock all the feathers off, and then split with them and go into our 5th straight win into the offseason with all this beautiful energy. We gonna build forward into it, taking into the offseason, free agency, the draft, all this stuff, man, getting healthy and just be about the business of winning and building, right? And having as fast a turnaround as we possibly can. We've been missing the playoffs. I think this is our 5th straight year missing the playoffs, and let's turn it around in 2026, man. So finish strong is the motto for the Saints in week number 18. Finish strong. Finishing strong also mean getting a rookie of the year for Tyler Shucky Ducky Quack Quack, Chuck Norris, the Shuckinator, getting his rookie of the year also would be very cool as well. So with that being said, man, I'm gonna end the stream on that. Man, I appreciate y'all so much. So y'all do me a service by hitting the like button, hitting the subscribe button. If you're listening via X, retweet, and retweet again. It helps out the show. Also, feel free to share the show. I don't care if it's Instagram. If y'all listening on Facebook, please feel free to take the Coma with you and share, baby. Y'all are part of the 2026 improvement, man. We're looking to do some great things. Help us do that by sharing the links. With that being said, man, I'm going to holler at y'all on game day, baby. Much love. Peace. Who that to you?
Yeah. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Long as I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. Sports Coma, yeah, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like Benson, I'm a who that. I'm a who that. Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that. Welcome. Somebody please better help. Running this thing like Alvin. I thank God every day I'm not a Falcon. Go to YouTube Live with Big Q and the guys. If you ain't ride or die, the bandwagon get flipped. Been marching in, that was way for the ring. I was yelling out your shame for the championship. Bucking on town, duck down. Falcons, pluck, get shut down. Panthers ain't much touchdown. The vision really belong to us now. So much hate on the Saints, you could probably tell. Ever since Bounty Gate hit the NFL, when things seem fishy and you probably smell the crooked referees on Roger Goodell. Yeah, money like this and I'm a who that. Every day I'm living, I'm a who that. Lose or winning, I'm a who that. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that. Where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that, where we do that. Boogie like this and I'm a who that. It's the Sports Coma, this is where we do that.
You're listening to the Sports Coma with Big Q and the guys on the PRO Media Network.
Whether you're catching up on Saints news at Jackson Square, checking Pelicans scores in the Garden District, or staying updated on LSU while grabbing coffee in the French Quarter, there's one place that keeps you connected to everything that matters in our city. From Bourbon Street to the Superdome, from Preservation Hall to the riverfront, New Orleanians are staying in the know with the WhoDatDaily.com, your daily source for Saints, Pelicans, LSU, and all the sports, music, and culture that makes our city special. At work downtown, at a game in the Dome, or just relaxing by the Mississippi, wherever life takes you in the Big Easy, you can stay connected. Because when you're from New Orleans, you don't just live here. You stay in the NO. That's stay in the know. Visit the WhoDatDaily.com and never miss what matters most to Who Dat Nation.
Welcome to the Pro Shop, where we create authentic NOLA-inspired clothing for men, women, and children. From Saints jerseys to Pelicans gear, everything's crafted right here in New Orleans. Whether you're shopping the Pro Shop, the Pel Shop, or the Pro Shop Kids, we've got your whole family covered with genuine merchandise that represents our city's spirit. Check for links in the description section below or